Simon, Polito, and Laura DesMoine. Simon is the founder and chief auctioneer at RECA, and over the past 20 years, he has closed over $700 million in sales. And I'll let Simon tell you a little more about his company. And Laura is the head of Private Office Americas and senior vice president of Designation Services at Engel and Volkers. She's a specialist in marketing luxury real estate with over 35 years of industry experience, and she focuses on expanding Engel and Volkers' offerings to specialized marketing segments such as new development. So can you guys both maybe give us a little bit more background about yourselves and your companies?
Sure. Thank you for that. I think I'm going to delete the 35 years part. Decades are a long time. Anyway, I am Luara. I'm from Engel and Volkers, and I work for, right now, a division called Private Office, which is a collection of about the top 3% of advisors in the world globally for Engel and Volkers. So it's an exciting time to be seeing what's going on in different countries. We've all been really in close touch during the last couple of years, especially to learn about how's your market reacting to this, how are your clients feeling. And that is continuing to go forward, where everybody's seeing some of the same things at different times and different cycles, and trying to take advantage of how those all align has been interesting. So that is my story of recent years, and before that I was also with Sotheby's for obviously a long time in marketing. So that's my background. I do a lot of luxury real estate and luxury real estate marketing, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Engel and Volkers, for sponsoring our panel today.
This means I have to move to Engel and Volkers.
I'm
not opposed, I'm just asking questions. My name's Simon Polito. I do have an accent. I'm not from here. I can guess it correctly in the first 5 seconds.
Australia.
There you go. You're my best friend. Yep. I'm not from England. Son of immigrant parents who didn't have any education, so from the ground up got into real estate. I love people, love what I do, and it's pretty cool to dress nicely, be in an office, be in a nice car, and yet you're not stuck to a table your entire life. For me, that's why I love socializing, and hospitality is the biggest form of real estate for me. So I've been doing it for 21 years. I did 14 years in Sydney, Australia. At the end of my career there, I was known as the #1 luxury agent in the country. 2 years running at the age of 30, I didn't sell one house. I just sold luxury condos. Minimum price was $3 million and above. And I was only in my 20s when everyone told me there's absolutely no chance you'll ever be able to do that. So that was a challenge for me personally, and I, commitment, sacrifice, whatever I had to do to make it happen, to the point where I literally missed my own bachelor party. Being serious, I missed my own bachelor party because I was at work. So, for luxury, if you want to get to that level, whether it's luxury or not luxury, whatever you want to do and you want to get to it, if you want it bad enough, you'll make sacrifices to get there. From there, I made enough money to be able to move my entire family over to the United States. And I've been living here actually a couple of weeks now, it'll be 7 years ago. So, and actually started here in San Diego originally, which is an amazing place, America's finest city. And now I live up in Orange County, and because I travel between LA and San Diego so frequently. But I opened up what is called an auction company, called RECA. It's a luxury, non-distressed auction system, platform, whatever you'd like to call it. But it's not there to hold ransom to people who are in distress, foreclosures, negative connotations. This is only for positive situations. So you may be selling your house traditionally. This is just another layer or another path that you could go down as opposed to going the traditional method. I am a live auctioneer. This is my weapon of choice. You will not get arrested by the police for having this in your car, and it works really well. Scares a lot of people, especially my kids. But what I mean when I say there's a lot of auction companies out there. So I was speaking to Stuart about that when we were speaking on the Zoom. I think Stuart was the first person in the United States to ever do a Sotheby's real estate auction. Yeah, which really impressed me. Sorry, I'm a geek for that. So when I moved over here and I saw that auctions weren't really being done the way I was used to, because Sydney, Australia is the leader of auctions around the world. I'm from Sydney, but in Melbourne, they do over 1,000 auctions on the front yards of homes every day, so every Saturday. And that gets reported on the 6 o'clock news after. So that is an amazing way to sell real estate, and it wasn't being done here, so I opened up my own company. We're now in 5 years of operation. We've done over 500 transactions, primarily in Orange County, San Diego, and LA County. and we get homes sold in 28 days or less. So I also do real estate as an agent, and I get the balance between 2 or 3 teams. Christina, if you guys were watching before, is one of my business partners. I have marketing guys go over with me. Patrick's right there, and cameras on us all the time. So I also host a TV show, Selling in Southern California. So yeah, get uncomfortable, guys.
Awesome, thank you for the introduction. So as we all know, the pandemic has kind of really changed the way the real estate market has been the last few years, and also changed the luxury real estate market a lot. Luxury home prices increased by 14.7% between 2020 and 2021. And between February 2020 and February 2021, there was an 81% increase in homes that sold over $1 million. So what do you attribute this to? Where you guys can take it first.
Well, I'd say demand and volatility is a big piece of it. There still isn't enough product out there for people, and then everybody decided they wanted to go to the same places, in rural places, suburban places, and that kind of movement all over the place, and people trying to do it quickly and not enough supply. That's the classic thing that drives up prices. And so we were seeing in many markets, the minute the sign went up, the contract sign was up the next day, and that just created this. Also, there's a real frenzy around it, a real competition. We know how much of real estate is emotional and psychological, and everybody really feeling like, I've got to get that before somebody else does. So the waiver of no inspections, I don't even need to see it, all of that stuff, and it all sort of trickles up to the luxury market and impacted that as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I think supply demand is always going to carry a significant growth in the market. You've also had the lowest ever interest rates in history. Everyone was basically getting free money, hence why they were okay with taking away contingencies, because what was the worst that was going to happen? Right? They weren't going to lose a truckload of money on their interest repayments. So like you said, they all went to certain locations, and they all went to the same location. Phoenix being the #1 location in the nation, and San Diego was #2. San Diego went through a huge boom, like just crazy. Everyone from the Bay Area who was in those smaller shoebox, if you will, condos, wanted space. San Diego had always been seen as like maybe a secondary location for people. So San Diego right now is going through a massive correction because it had like 36 to 38% growth last year. It went nuts, and we were selling things in an hour.
Yeah.
Like there's hundreds of people waiting, and you just put it on an hour ago. Is insane. But that's why I do auctions, because it gives everyone a fair chance to make their bid.
And for us, we saw, because we're in just global, but North America, Park City, Utah, went crazy with people buying everything out in the hinterlands, building huge homes out there, and then on the other extreme, Nova Scotia, prices were up by like 4 times. So they never really had a million and up market, and now they have tons of stuff over $1 million. Their market completely changed. So we saw that in a number of places, and now the places that went up the most are, of course, the ones that are starting to feel the pinch of things changing the fastest.
But they've also made money still, though. Like, they've come down. It's important to know that the market has adjusted, but it hasn't lost exactly what it made. So we're still up. If you compare it to 2019, we've still done well. Property prices have gone up. So.
Yeah, so definitely the lack of inventory, I think, factored into the quick rise in prices. But how do you think that the interest rates affects the luxury market versus the non-luxury market? Now that the interest rates have gone up quite a bit, what have you kind of been seeing going on?
I don't think it affects the luxury market at all, to be honest with you. And again, depends what you deem as luxury.
Sure.
Certain areas, maybe under $1 million is luxury. That's, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but on the West Coast, primarily where we work, it's that $1.5 to $2 million mark is sort of when you get into that more luxurious market. Generally speaking, when you go over $2 million, it's crazy to say it, but they got cash. They're cash. Now, don't get me wrong, they're more savvy. That's why they've got cash. So they're not going to be stupid and pay crazy prices overinflated. They're going to give you their absolute analysis on value, but they're cash. And the interest rate doesn't bother them at all. So many of them have been cashing up I've found so many of them cashing up over the last 24 months to have more cash available. So when these rates do go up, which they're doing, they can capitalize and take someone else's misfortune and make it their fortune.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, it's just discretionary market, but the only thing about the discretionary market is they also sometimes can be more swayed by the sentiment. And if they feel that it's not a great time to buy or sell, because that's what the media is hitting them with every day, they don't have to move, they don't have to do anything on anyone else's schedule typically, so they can be more likely to say, this just doesn't feel like the right time to do something. And that's where the role of agents is really important, because you can take the blinders off and say, don't get caught up in the news ticker. Look at the numbers, look at where you are. You don't need a mortgage, you know, play out the scenario where they can find some real benefit in this market.
Simon, can you tell us a little bit more about the auction process and how it works for these non-distressed sales? And have you seen any trends for the types of homes that are sold at auction, especially over the last few years with the pandemic?
Yeah, I love that. So definitely, from when I started it 7 years ago, introducing it, there was very low awareness, and I've definitely seen a significant rise where now, I want to say probably 30% of the time when someone's listing their home on the West Coast right now, auction is an option. Whereas when I first moved here, it was 5%. Definitely over the last 2 years, even though I truly believe my product, being an auctioneer, would have got an even better price for my clients, let's be honest with each other, agents were selling homes in a day. I run a 28-day program, and at minimum I was doing a 14-day program. So I knew if I gave my client 14 days, they would have got more exposed. They were already getting an overinflated price, so it wasn't as used as I would have liked to have had it exposed out there. But right now, that agents are, and this is not to put anyone down in particular, don't be sensitive in here. There are agents out there that don't know how to do their damn job, and they don't know anything else other than to put a signboard out the front, put on the MLS, and cross their fingers and hope for an email to come in with an offer, right? That's not going to happen right now. Like you just said, you've got to give the consumer confidence. I post on a daily basis, stop watching fake news. News is there to sell, not to do anything else other than to sell. So they don't care what they say. You take it into you internalize that and believe that it's true. So auctions have come through amazingly well. There are over 200 auction companies in the United States. However, we are one of the only ones that are live. So I partner up with agents. You've got a listing in New York, in Manhattan, and you maybe had some trouble selling it. It's been on the market for 60 days and you haven't had the response you were hoping for. We would then come in, partner with you, not as a co-agent because we're not a brokerage, we're a marketing company. We will partner with you, give you the system, but have the seller in complete control, where he or she, or they, have the right to accept, reject, or negotiate at any time of the process. But you've seen a lot of larger properties, like, I don't know if you guys saw the one called The One, in Bel Air earlier this year. It was originally it came on the market originally just shy of $1 billion, which was drastically overpriced. But it ended up going to not a live auction, a timed auction online, and it sold for $126 million with a 12% buyer premium. Now, buyer premium is what the buyer will pay on top of the sales price as a fee to the auction company. So that auction company made about $15 million that day. Now, the buyer was happy to pay that because that property sold well undervalued. It was valued over $200 million. They got it for $126, so they were still making money. And also their property taxes come down because of that. Big property taxes of $126. So with us, we've been incredibly busy, particularly in the last 60 days, I'd say, with every property, maybe mainly in the luxury sector, because that has definitely slowed down a lot and a lot of inventory has come on. Yeah. So now agents are collaborating with us, and like I said, I'm live, so I'm very animated, by the way. I'm Italian, I speak with my hands. But ladies and gentlemen, looking for everybody bids at $500,000, where do you want to go from there? 505, 56, 56, 500, 56, 700, 56, 700, 850. First, second, third, finished, quiet, done. Go!
I'll take it.
Yeah. When I say that, you're all smiling and you're all happy, right? And that's exactly why I do it live, because it gets the emotions out of people and everyone has a bit of fun. Think about this, if we were in that hot, crazier market that we were 6 months ago, and there was only one property, and you guys were all buyers, very common, what San Diego was experiencing, only one of you can get it. And most agents were asking for highest and best. Now, how do you know what to put in as your best? You want to save money, but you don't want to lose the property. And you don't want to overpay, because then you're not going to get praise. So there's a lot of challenges with that. Now, in 21 years of doing auctions for me, I've never had one property fall out of their space. I've also never had one property not appraised, because market value is deemed by the market. And that's when an appraiser will always appraise the property based off what the true market value is. So when you have an auction, it gives everybody a fair chance. Imagine if you all had a paddle right now and you all had an opportunity to put your best foot forward to what you are prepared to pay. You'd be able to all walk out of here confidently, maybe sad if you didn't get the property, but confidently that you had a chance to partake and you gave it your best, as opposed to just submit your best by Friday. So a lot of people were losing out, and that's why I feel auctions are very transparent, honest, and just a fun way to do real estate.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've all experienced the multiple offer situations, the bidding wars over the last 2 years, and I can imagine doing it live in person really enhances that feeling of the multiple offers and the scarcity kind of the property, and when you see that other people like the property, it makes you want it even more, right?
Exactly.
So kind of having that emotional part involved in it is kind of interesting.
It's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say I had a $5 million listing and, you know, it's not selling and we think it's worth maybe 4.5, let's say. How do you determine the starting price? Is there a reserve? Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Great question, great question. So, coming from Australia, you always had a reserve. I moved to the United States and discovered this beautiful thing called the MLS. Right? And these guys, love them or hate them, dictate the rules. You know, auctions are a new product for them, so they made it. We've had to adopt and change to be compliant. Now, in the state of California primarily, which is where we work out of right now, if you have been given a reserve, does everyone know what a reserve is?
Yeah.
No, just want to make sure. And if you don't be embarrassed to ask, please. It's only a silly question if you don't ask. A reserve. Sure, absolutely. So a reserve fee. So you're selling this gavel, for example.
Yep.
What would you sell it for? Think a number.
$1,000.
That's your reserve.
Got it.
Your bottom line, effectively. Now, in the state of California, the MLS has a rule that if you have a reserve, you have to publicly advertise that number from day one of marketing. That's called a traditional sale.
That's just the listing price, right?
So that would just defeat the whole purpose of what we're looking to do. So we do have a clause in our contract that says we are selling with no reserve. However, our attorneys, working with all the boards for compliance, found a way that we could have a clause that said the seller has the right to accept, reject, or negotiate at any time in the process, whether it be before, at, or after. I forget the rest of the question.
Just like how do you determine
Oh,
the
price,
price then,
Yeah.
starting price?
So it always is changing, right? And obviously, I have a generic style, but Jane, I'm gonna sit with you. I'm gonna say, what do you think the home's worth? You're gonna say, oh, maybe it's worth 3.5.
Yeah.
Seller wants 5. Bit unrealistic, not uncommon.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on in the market? How many other properties are on the market? How do we make this property, when someone's looking on Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, or Realtor.com, that's where most of them are looking on, how do we make your home stand out? So let's start the bidding at 2 million and let's see how we go. Or if you're like, no, there's actually no inventory, well then we can probably start closer to where we're gonna end up. So it's gonna be assessed with me and the listing agent and the sellers having an in-depth conversation, basically coming to Jesus moment. You know, think about this. Has anyone heard of eBay? I'm actually banned from it, so I have an addictive personality. There's my crap on there, and I don't like to lose. And eBay, everything starts at $1, but nothing sells for $1. I've never even met anyone who knows anyone who's bought one for $1. Probably one in a gazillion, right? But the point of the matter is that $1 attracted me to feel like I was going to get a deal. Same with the listing bidding to start from price. We don't start where your traditional price would be. We start at a bidding to start from. Now that's not what we're selling it for. It's just going to be enough to capture your attention and get you to come to look at the property, which allows us as an auction company and listing agent to do our job. Give that consumer confidence that this is everything about that property. We do all the due diligence ahead of time as well. So home inspection, termite report, seller's disclosures, natural hazard disclosure report, preliminary title report. If it's part of an HOA, we get the CCNRs. If it's had work, we get the permits. Everything. Now I know some states and locations already do that before, which is amazing. Thank you for doing that. But by doing all that, we just sell non-contingent. That's why nothing falls out of escrow for me. So when you can give a consumer confidence, that will allow them to make a decision way more confidently as well, and then it'll allow the seller with education to be able to make an educated decision. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. Curious in the audience, how many of you have ever used a auction style for your listing before? Okay.
That's not the Android guy.
Yeah, so not very many, I guess, so I think there's a lot more for us to learn about how
Lock the
auctions
doors,
work.
lock the doors.
Laura, do you have anything to add to the whole auction experience?
Everything you said is the same. I worked for Sotheby's for a number of years, and you know, the art market works exactly the same way, and it's built on the same psychology and the minimum price, and so it's just applying the art form in a different way, but, yeah. It's effective.
It really works with sellers. Like that's when I hit back at that point. So the seller won $5 million, but it's worth $3.5. I've never had to have a price reduction conversation with my sellers because we're not going down, we're going up. Right? But what it allows us to do is every time we have an open house, this is just our structure. Whenever we have an open house, nobody's getting in the front door. I don't care if it's the president. I'm not getting in without giving us your name, number, and your email address. I don't care. This is an owner-controlled property, and they have the right to get everyone's details who's coming into their private home. Now, by doing that, we can ask every one of them questions. Do you like the home? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And my favorite question, what would you pay? We give all that raw information to a seller twice a week in a written report. Dear Mrs. Seller, your property on 123 Main Street had the following people through. Mr. and Mrs. Brown, love the kitchen, hate the backyard, would pay 3.5. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, love the backyard, thought the kitchen was horrible, would pay 2. Now, as you see a trend, the sellers are able to make an educated decision. If someone was to make a pre-auction offer or bid on auction day, the seller has education-backed confidence. They know what their buyer is going to pay, and they know what the other market people are saying is the value for their home. So that way, then they can make that decision, and they come down on price extremely quickly, because it's not your showing comps. Well, Mr. Seller, the comps say this. Sorry, F the comps. Comps aren't buying your house, right? If anyone's ever sold to a comp, I want to meet you right now, because the comp is a document showing what someone else paid for another home. I want to know what people are going to pay for this home, and that's what auction does. It gets people to show what they'd be prepared to pay on the particular property.
Now, does a certain type of property like work better for an auction? For example, if you're in like a cookie cutter suburban neighborhood where it's plan A, plan B, plan C, does the auction style not really work, or is it better for homes that are kind of harder to value because they have, you know, a special view or something really unique or custom about it? Is that kind of a better fit?
I want to say both. Right?
Yeah.
They're both great. The only time it doesn't work is if the seller doesn't want to do it. That's my opinion. I say this product works on every type of property. Don't get me wrong, land is the worst.
Yeah.
No offense to land, beautiful thing. Can't buy any more of it. They're not making any more of it. But it's really difficult to sell land unless you're in a very prestigious location or a waterfront, beachfront that is landlocked, and people will pay a premium for it. But residential homes, again, it's going to come back to inventory. Right? And this is when you see a massive influx of inventory, even in a cookie cutter track home location. Well, they're going to all be at a certain price, and we're going to start here. So we will set ourselves apart. Now, when it's a very luxurious property, how do you put a value on a view? You know, when I was back in Sydney selling views, if you will, because I have 25, 30-story buildings, every level commanded a different price. Sometimes the middle level was more expensive than the top because you had a better viewpoint. But average was $1 million a level. Now, if you have beautiful artwork in your home and you have a west-facing condo, you're not going to be looking at your view very often because your blinds are down because you don't want to ruin the sun to ruin your artwork. So you probably don't like that. I'm just using it as an example. Some people are like, I don't have any art, I just want to see the ocean all day. Open it up. Right? So the beauty will always be dictated, the value will always be dictated by the consumer. All we have to do is make them aware of the opportunity and show them their competition. Fear of loss is an amazing thing.
All right, very interesting. Laura, I want to kind of talk about the types of purchases like ranches and vineyards. I know the pandemic has really changed the way that people, people work from home now. They're able to work remotely. They don't have to go to the city as often. Have you seen a growth in demand for these types of properties?
Yeah, tremendous growth in both categories, and they're kind of similar, right? Because they both have a lot of the things that people are focused on more than ever, which is, you know, real estate. They talk about people are living their homes now, and I would say they're living their larger property too. I mean, your property you're so much more wrapped up in it. It's always been emotional, but now it's a real reflection of how you live, who you are, what your legacy is going to be. And people are experiencing them in ways that they haven't before. So ranch and vineyard taps into that so much. I think in the last And the last year, there were more ranch sales, over $200 million or so than ever. And now I'll throw out a stat, since I don't have any auctioneer stuff to do. I'll bring my stat game, that the 100 largest owners, in the country own about 42 million acres of real estate right now. It's huge. Everybody from Bezos to the owners of sports teams, everybody's in the game for ranches especially. And people also started buying seasonal ranches. So you have a hunting ranch where you look for quail in Georgia for the winter, and then you go to Montana in the spring and the summer. So that, 2 ranches is kind of a new thing. That shows a real extreme. I think they're also a great investment for folks, because especially if you buy one in Wyoming where there's no income tax or transfer tax for inheritance tax. So there's also this other trend out there, this huge, it's the secret, the cowboy secret. This huge wealth transfer that's happening and is going to go on for the next few years as the boomers transition out of their real estate. And so they're thinking about legacy too, with how they're going to give these properties to their kids. So this has been a huge thing. And the millennials love the ranches because for different reasons, right? It used to be hunting and fishing and things like that maybe, but they're worried about internet access. But it used to be about being, away from everyone. They want to have better entertaining spaces. But they're also concerned about sustainability and food sourcing and things like that, which really tap into both the ranch and the vineyard thing. So it's ticking a lot of boxes for people now, and they really are. They say people who buy a vineyard are, they change the vineyard and the vineyard changes them. You smell the soil, you start to experience it, you develop your own wine brand. There's a lot of satisfaction in that, and as people are trying to get more out of their real estate, both of those categories really play into it very well.
So the types of amenities that have been desired in luxury homes have been changing. So obviously outdoor spaces were really huge during the pandemic, and before the pandemic, people, swimming pools were really decreasing in popularity. A lot of clients were telling me, no, I won't buy a house that has a pool. I don't want to have to deal with it, maintain it, and have to fill it after. But then as soon as the pandemic hit, everyone wanted a pool, and then now if you want to install a pool in your backyard, in LA, it used to be like 50,000, and now it's like 150,000, 200,000 even, and there's a waiting list for 5-6 months. Like if your pool equipment breaks, you can't even get replacement parts. Like, what's going on with that, and what other types of trends have you seen?
I think I agree with you. You said everyone went from not wanting anything to wanting everything. Kind of one of them. But it was because everything was limited to us, right? There was no pool we could go to. There was no gym we could go to. There was no office we could go to. So we had to create our own space. I live in Irvine, which is like Pleasantville. Nothing's going right. Everything's perfect. But no one leaves their house anyway. It was challenging because I saw more people walking than I'd ever seen in my entire life, because that was the only thing we could do.
Yeah.
Well, then if you went to the beach, there seemed to be no rules at the beach, especially in Newport or Huntington Beach. They didn't care for COVID. But people were adamant they had to have that home office. I've seen a decrease in that now, definitely. I've seen people going back to the city, back to the more densified locations for the convenience of being able to walk to your local store. Whereas before it was people were buying more, maybe not too many ranches here where we are in Southern California, but people were moving out to the suburbs, like out into Riverside, out into Temecula, because it was only 45 minutes from the coast, but they were able to get these huge estates that could give them the freedom to do everything they wanted. But I agree 100% with you, the cost of everything has gone through the roof because of supply chains. And for some reason, no one rehired their staff, but their prices up. That's what happened. So, I just think that I feel you're going to see a shift back again. Because it was before that, I own a property in the middle of the city of Sydney, Australia, and my rent went from $4,000 a month down to $2,000 a month because everyone fled the city. Because no one could do anything, it was lockdown. It was only a two-bedroom townhouse, but it went down drastically, and now we're on the road to recovery. Same thing you're seeing here, like downtown LA went through a massive free fall.
Yeah.
because no one wanted to be stuck in a glass cage.
Yeah.
So now that that's coming back, that's now starting to increase, and the homes are now, I feel, getting let go of it. So they're coming back on the market now, but I don't feel there's as much competition or need for it as it was 12 months ago.
You know, and I'd say people talked about the pandemic as being a great time of experimentation in your home. You're going to play with it. You're going to change the design. People were doing some really bold things with their accent walls and all that kind of stuff. So, and now as we're coming out of it, people are saying, well, what worked and what didn't. So they're going back, they're refining their design. They're saying, I put in a home office, but maybe I'm not so keen on a home office now. And it's really a constant learning process with your home, and you're so much more focused on it, and you have so many more options. There's this big conversation about what was done during the pandemic and what's going to survive it. I think things like a personal basketball court, you might rethink down the road, but a lot of the other things like smart home technology is the huge one, because that, once you're used to it, it's hard to go away from it, and it's also the ultimate in personalization, making the intersection of sort of lifestyle and technology. They talk about where you can set mood lighting in different rooms, you can set things for wellness as well as comfort, and the options are limitless for how you can customize your home and technology, and that's just going to continue, I think.
I think the big one was Peloton. Everyone wanted Peloton, right?
Yes.
Everyone wanted to be a home rider. And now Peloton's stocks have like plummeted because everyone realizes they can get a real bike and actually go outside and enjoy the world, rather than being abused by a woman on a screen telling you to pedal harder. So yeah, Peloton, that's exactly what happened. People were using it, now they realise that the other option is now available, and I feel like they're letting that go.
So do you think that now that we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, our home gyms and really nice backyard retreats and pools, are those going to stay around, or are they going to kind of fizzle out?
I think the backyard retreats will stay. I think people
Yeah.
are enjoying their space now.
Yeah.
But I definitely know that there's going to be a lot of garage sales, and there's going to be a lot of rusty weights on the front of people's yards, because they just realise they're not going to continue what they were doing in the home gym. And Pelotons. I mean, the Pelotons are for sale everywhere now. Like you can get them $500.
Yeah, I'm guilty too. During the pandemic, we couldn't go to the gym. I didn't buy a Peloton, but I wanted one of those Bowflex weight sets. And they were selling for like 10 times the normal price on eBay. And I was like, oh, I'm never gonna get to work out again. So I paid so much for it, and I probably used it like 3 times.
I bought 4 boxing bags. And then I found out I couldn't hang it anywhere because I didn't have a strong enough support. But now anyone wants a boxing bag, I have 4. So.
Speaking of garage sales.
Buy a house in a bag.
So I think a lot of the agents here want to know, what should they do to get involved in luxury real estate? How do you break into the sector? What are some tips for these agents that want to try to, up their sales price?
Sure. I would just say just show up. All of you are doing everything now to sell a house that's $100,000 that is done to sell a house that's over $1 million. So it really is about your confidence, your being in that space, putting yourself out there and really interacting with folks and showing them that you know the market really well, and that you're going to work, to Simon's point earlier, where he missed his bachelor party. You're going to do that. They are the top priority, and you're going to do everything you can 24/7 to be there for them, and they need to feel that, and they need to feel your confidence in the market and in being able to guide them in what to do. It is really otherwise no different, I would say. People just they want somebody to lean on, and they want somebody to listen also. It's still an emotional game at that point, so you've got to have the ears wide open and listen to what they're not telling you as well as what they're telling you.
I agree with that. You guys want to know about sacrifice? Today's my oldest son's birthday. He's turned 7 today. His name's Elvis. This will be the first birthday I won't see him. Right? Sacrifice.
So you missed your bachelor party, but
And
you
my
didn't
son.
miss the wedding.
Oh, almost. I had 2 weddings in 2 weeks in 2 countries. Don't ever do that either. But yeah, like sacrifice. Like I feel like a bad father today, right? I'm not going to be there for my son. Well, I'm going to have a big party for him on the weekend. But this is my commitment. I want to be the best. I will be the best. So I'm prepared to make sacrifices to give my family a better life later on. Again, people say it's wrong, people say it's right, it's up to you. Like what you just said, it's all mindset. Show up. If you want it bad enough, no one's going to stop you. It's just another zero on the end. It's just another couple of zeros in days on market either. It's just, it doesn't, you know, I sold a property just down the road, up the road here in La Jolla earlier this year for $7.25 million. And it didn't sell in a week. It sold in 3 years it took to sell that property. I invested $150,000 in marketing into it. But no one sees that, they just see the end result. And a lot of people feel like, I'm just getting into luxury, I'm just going to make squillions of dollars. Come on, like, but it's like, honestly, it's relationship based. You know, I was literally having this conversation with one of, I don't know if you guys know, there's a Tom Ferry event next door. And I coach with Tom Ferry, and I was speaking to a couple of the coaches, and they're like, your mindset is everything, your relationships are everything. Simon, you don't have to do the 1 minute close presentation. If anyone can list a $10 million house with a listing presentation, they're amazing. They should not be in real estate. They should be out there doing something crazy. But it takes years sometimes to procure that listing. You know, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your family. I want to know what's important to you. I want to know your habits. I want to connect you with people who have similar interests. So that at the end of the day, I'm not your real estate agent. I'm your trusted advisor.
Yeah.
But you can't advise without trust.
Bottom line,
That's it.
is huge. I mean,
That's
that's why we call them private office advisors
There you go.
for that very reason. And our whole mantra is, you're building relationships. You're not chasing transactions. In fact, we hope, you know, you want to have a client for years, almost like a financial advisor, where you've got the long-term view. And if that means giving up a deal, you give up a deal because you've got a better idea maybe a year or two down the road. It's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah. The only challenge I feel for most people trying to get into it, you've got to invest money. And if you don't have it, do what I did. Take a loan out, bet on yourself. No better motivation. I don't want to pay it. You know, I took a loan out at a 25% interest rate, short-term money loan, to start my business. I didn't have any money. There's no family giving me, here's some trust fund money for you. No, I had nobody. I'm on the opposite side of the world with no family here apart from my kids and my wife. There's no one here. No one's going to help me. So I took a loan out. I went all in. I may have done real estate for 14 years before, but starting in the United States was all over again. Everything was new. I didn't know what square feet, man. You don't know the whole world uses the metric system. There's a world outside of America, just so you guys know. I had to learn everything. So when I hear a new agent wanting to get in, it's like, there's no excuses. If I didn't know anyone, and now I'm sitting up here with you guys. Thank you again for this opportunity. But in talking to you guys, that's really cool. You know, but I had no confidence for so many years. Your confidence in yourself, your number one product is yourself. Number two product is your client. You can't sell yourself to your client if you don't understand who you are, what you can do, and what you bring to the table. So I get really passionate and frustrated all the time. Because so many just don't get it, and just get out of the industry.
So where do you get your leads for these luxury listings? Do you do it through networking events? Do you buy leads? Like even if let's say I take out a loan to invest in myself, what can I use that money for?
I think we've all made mistakes in thinking, I'm gonna put $10,000 into leads and I'm just gonna be super wealthy by getting heaps in. You're not gonna get nothing. You're gonna get nothing. It's only gonna work if you work. If any of you guys were watching the presentation before, Christina, who was up there, was one of my business partners, and we door knock twice a week. Not beneath us, the door knock. Right? She's 20 years in the industry, I'm 21 years in the industry, we're still door knocking, we still cold call. But we go to one thing and one thing only mainly, events. I'm at an event every night. I haven't had dinner with my family in probably 4 weeks. But events. Get awkward, get uncomfortable. It's hard to say to you guys, you're probably not going to believe me, but I'm being honest, trust me, I'm a real estate agent. I get really nervous. I'm shy. This suit gives me confidence. This is my Superman outfit. Right? I don't have it on this suit, but I used to get stitched on the inside, my confidence suit on the inside. That gave me confidence. No one else knew about that. That was me. Right? So it's just, go after it, guys. Like leads, I have bought leads. I think if anyone says they haven't, they're lying. You've all done it to some point. Back in the day before leads, it was buying mailers or postcards, you know, and that was a huge waste of money at times because you'd spend tens of thousands of dollars for something that someone would literally don't even look at for half a second. So door knocking for me works, cold calling for me works, just immersing yourself in your community. I know the Californians, I hear this a lot, oh, we have a license for all of California, we work everywhere. Don't do that. Work in one area and nail that area. Be that number one in that area. You'll find that every top agent in the whole world doesn't work outside of a certain amount of radius. In Sydney, I wouldn't take my listings if I couldn't walk to them. That was my rule. So, as long as you, I mean, you can't really do that here because no one walks in California. Maybe NorCal they do, I don't know. So, but, you know, find your niche, get your confidence, your leads will come to you if you immerse yourself in your community and everyone knows who you are. If you're not seen, you're not known. If you're not known, you're not making money.
I totally agree, and I think Engel and Volkers as a brand has built itself. It started in Germany a long time ago, and they wanted to bring a different level of sophistication and quality and business acumen because real estate wasn't the most prestigious occupation at the time, and they said, we're going to bring some discipline to this and some real professionalism, and that was about specialization, really focusing in, honing in, and knowing something better than anybody else. That is key. And I think the other piece is, and this dovetails with what Simon is saying about the community, that includes other realtors.
Yes.
So really make friends, be good to them, support them, because they are your network too, and you're more likely to get leads from them than you are from, you know, just a postcard in the wind. So.
I know I'm sending my referral to New York too. I mean, I want to go to New York, but I know they're going to be in great hands with someone who knows that market, and then hopefully, you know, you get a client who wants to move to California, and we'll battle it out. But you know, you pass on to someone you know will get the job done and be the same level of standard as what you perform.
Right. Well, I always like to say that all different methods of lead generation work, but you have to figure out the ones that you're good at and fit your personality, and one that you're more likely to do consistently, because consistency really is the key to everything. I mean, I actually still do 3,000 mailers a month, and I've been, you know, it's all about consistency and repetition. I get a couple leads from my mailers every month. When I first started out though, I would do mailers for like, you know, one just sold property, I would do some mailers over here, and then I have a new listing, I'd do some mailers over here, and then I'd be like, oh, maybe I should do this neighborhood, I'd check this out, and then of course, it never worked, right, because you're not doing it consistently. And people told me you gotta do the same farm of people over and over and over again, once or twice a month, and I'm like, that's annoying though, but finally I listened, I started doing the same 3,000 homes, I do them every single month. You know, sometimes it's a just sold, sometimes market data, sometimes it's a fun holiday card, whatever. I try to make sure that it has like a something interesting. And you're right, 99% of them throw it out, but 1 or 2 out of the 3,000 call me every month. And I get a lead from it, and you know, when I go to their listing appointment, oftentimes they'll show me like 15 cards that they've saved over the last year, and I'm like, wow, you know, like 2,999 of them got thrown out, but this guy saved all of them. So, I mean, it still does work. So, I mean, I think it's all about consistency and repetition again. And if you do mailers and you're able to supplement that, let's say you do mailers in this specific neighborhood, but you also door knock the neighborhood, you also go to community events in the neighborhood, maybe you buy a bus bench ad or a grocery cart ad in that same neighborhood, and then people start seeing you over and over and over again in different ways, and they're gonna finally remember you. So I think like, the most important part though is making sure that you're comfortable and you like what you're doing, because if you don't, like for me, I don't like door knocking, it's very uncomfortable for me, and I would force myself to do it because, you know, I saw other agents doing it and being successful at it, and I would knock on the door and I'd think to myself, like, please don't answer the door. And I realized, like, this is not working out for me, I'm not motivated to do this, so, you know.
Middle 1 month, like, they're not home.
So I think like you have to make sure you enjoy what you're doing and it fits your personality as well.
I agree with you on the mailers though. You are exactly right. If you're doing the same place consistently, that's value. But if you're just doing random locations, like you also said,
Yeah.
oh, I sold one in San Diego, here's 1,000 flyers,
Yeah.
and they don't do them ever again. Oh, the flyers don't work.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me, come on, you gotta keep doing it. But again, that comes at a cost.
Yes,
But if you're invested in your business, you're gonna see that return.
yes.
There's a husband and wife team that live in my area. I've never met them. I know everything about them. They're on my fridge, they're on my door, there are magnets everywhere, flags, flyers on my, all over my house, everywhere. Fred and Esther Stefani. Never met them once. Well, actually, they're all still never met them. But like, everyone in the street knows who the hell these guys are. They sell every home because they literally every week there's something else getting dropped at my house. And they don't like that area.
Yeah, I grew up in Irvine, and I grew up in Westwood, in West Park,
That's
so
right, that's
Fred.
exactly where I am.
and
That's right.
Back then, when I was a kid, it was only Fred, and
Yeah.
then now he brought on his wife Esther, so they're very good at farming. Yeah,
Who uses the same photo? By the way?
yeah, yes.
I'm just gonna say one other thing, in the community piece is local businesses and partnering with them, because they're building the same relationships you're building. So whatever area you're focus on the businesses in those areas and find ways to partner with them too. And last thing, social media, Instagram does work for luxury real estate. If you show up there consistently and you're posting the right content, again, about what your wheelhouse is, that works.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I'm on, I don't know if you follow me or not, but I'm on social media all day. In fact, I even hire a social media company to post for me. I'm actually not allowed to do my post, am I, Patrick? No. Just these stories, but it works if you're consistent. Trust me, so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. But now I'm known as the what's up guy. Everywhere I go, people are just, hey, you're the what's up guy. Cool, I don't know who you are. Do you have a house to sell? Back to your point about the community, a little trick, I don't have no problem telling you guys a little trick I used to use. And I still use it actually. Think about this scenario. I'm moving to New York. Where in New York exactly? In Manhattan?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm moving to Manhattan. Never been there before. I come up here and say, look, I'm just moving to Manhattan, my wife and kids. I need a hairdresser, I need a tailor, I need a barber shop, I need a shoe cobbler, I need to know where I can take my kids to school, what's the best grocery store, where's the best post box. If you can't give me that answer immediately, then I don't believe you know anything about your area you're working in. But here's the kick. If you refer someone's business, you should already have a relationship with that person at that business. So let's just say Patrick, I'm gonna pick on him in front of me, he owns a laundromat, right? It's a lovely one too, by the way. And the laundromat, I'm gonna go to Patrick and say, look, I'm putting together an information booklet for anyone moving to the area. Would you mind if I sponsored your company and put it in my book for free? You're not gonna say no, right? And then in return, you say, look, once I put the book together, do you mind if I keep that copy of that book here on your front desk here? Don't put your logo on the front, don't brand it to yourself, put your name on the back. Don't make it about you. Make it about the clients, the small businesses, so that everyone in there, and maybe even ask the laundromat, hey, on people's first visit, would you give them a little bit of an introductory special? Absolutely I would, because it's going to get them a new client. So don't take your referral back, give the referral to the client will be a client for life. And then all you're doing is also supporting small businesses, or large businesses around your community, and everyone will know who you are. Again, I came to this country not knowing one soul. I can walk down through San Diego, people will stop me. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. It happens over time if you're consistent.
Yeah, one tip I would give people that are trying to break into the luxury real estate market is to go and visit all the listings in your neighborhood. You need to go to whatever neighborhood you're trying to break into. You need to go to all the open houses, learn the inventory, know what's out there. And when you're there, you should pay attention to how the agent is marketing the property, how they're speaking about the property. Make sure you understand all the terminology, the architecture, the fixtures, the finishes. And then when you're there, don't just look around the property and then leave, right? There's a couple things that you should do when you're there. Firstly, try to guess the price of the property so you can practice valuing properties, because luxury properties are harder to value because they're so custom and specific. They have a lot of really custom and specific features. So don't look at the listing price, get there, tour the property, look around and try to guess what you think the property value is, and then check back later to see if you're accurate or not. Check the listing price and what the agent listed it for, and then check back to see what it's sold for so you can practice valuing properties. And then also when you're there, make content, right? Post on your social media about the properties you visited. When I first started out in real estate, I was 20 years old, so I definitely didn't have any friends that were, home buying age or anything like that. But I wanted to break into the luxury condo market. And actually the condo market sometimes is easier to break into because it's, a little bit less competition, I would say, less agents going after it. So I went to visit the open houses at all the high rises in the Wilshire corridor near Westwood, UCLA, and also in downtown LA. And I would learn about all the amenities that the building had to offer. So, what kind of amenities do they have? What are the price ranges? How big are the units? What are the different types of exposures? All of that, and then I would actually take content about it, make videos about it, post it on my social media, and I also would write blogs about it. Because you've already gathered all this information, you might as well save it and share it. So I wrote blogs about every single building that I visited. I would talk about, this is what this building has. It has a doorman, pool, blah, blah, blah. The units range from 500,000 to $1 million. For rent, it's 4,000 to 5,000. And believe it or not, now I did that probably like 7, 8, 9 years ago. And today I will still get calls about those blog posts because, they've been online for a long time. The more people view them, the more exposure you get. And they still come back to me sometimes. They'll call me and say, hey, is that building still 500,000? I'm like, no, it's not 500,000, but you get the lead and the introduction, and not only that, you're learning about the building and you're able to talk about it in a smart and educated way. Yeah, so I'm gonna open up to questions from the audience. Does anyone have a question?
First of all, thank you for all the insights. It's really intriguing, Simon, Laura. I think a lot of times when agents go into the luxury market, they feel like that clientele is very untouchable and not approachable, and tend to over-accentuate themselves in a way that's maybe unauthentic to try to build that relationship. In our Orlando market, I find that most of our billionaires and millionaires will walk around with a Grateful Dead t-shirt, sweatpants, and don't want anyone to know who they are. How would you recommend that someone starting in the industry build those relationships in an authentic, organic way that adds value to the clientele so they are the #1 go-to for anything that person needs, being that resource and that ally for connectivity?
Find out their habits.
Habits?
Find out their habits. They go to the gym, which gym? Be that gym.
Quick question. Where do they spend their time? Where do they spend their money? What do they like to do? The answer to those questions is where your brand should be.
Yeah.
Philanthropy.
Like I know, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant. He used to train at the Equinox on the corner of MacArthur and Main in Irvine. Guess where I was every morning? He's a gentleman. And he's, again, everyone thought he's under mentality, can't get in there, he's in his own space. Yeah, he was always training up, but after a while, he's like, hey, I see you all the time. What do you do? I'm a real estate engineer, and I play drums. So you're a basketball player, right? I'm not about me. I want to know about you. Tell me, Kobe, you were born in Italy, really? You weren't born, so you were raised in Italy. Yeah, actually, my dad was born in Italy as well. Found common ground. All right? All of his kids' names are Italian. He speaks fluent Italian. I was able to make an idiot of myself because I spoke a different dialect, but I spoke to her in Italian. Alright? Again, you've got to immerse yourself in situations. I sold to 3 prime ministers of the country. Sorry? Oh, battery's dead.
Oh, okay.
I'm an auctioneer, so I speak loudly anyway. I sold to 3 prime ministers of the country of Australia, effectively selling to 3 presidents. I haven't finished high school. I had no education. I had to learn so quickly about who they were. So I found out what coffee shop they went to every morning, and I sat there. And then I got friends with the waiters or the managers. Every time the prime ministers would walk in, I'd look at the waiter, give him a nod, and he'd put it on my tab. So the prime minister had to come out and say thank you to me. Okay? So again, find ways to gift and reward, and it always comes back tenfold. That's just been my experience.
Yeah. I would add, I think that don't be too salesy. You can't, when you meet them, you can't just immediately be like, here's my business card and expect to get a deal out of it, right? Focus on truly, authentically building the relationship over time, maybe over several times, and then the leads will come. You can't, right? You can't go to a networking event and just pass out business cards to people after you talk to them for 1 minute and expect them to send you a lead, right? Maybe. If you hand out enough, you can play a numbers game and say 1 out of 500. But I think like even coming to these AREAA events, right? I've been coming for so many years, building relationships with the same people, follow them on social media after, we stay in touch, engage on social media for years, and then the leads come, but I'm not like directly asking them, hey, make sure you send me a lead, blah, blah, blah.
You don't know when they're gonna come.
Right, exactly.
They normally
You
will
gotta-
come at once.
Right,
It's
exactly.
nothing for a long period of time.
Yes, exactly.
I'd also just say philanthropy, which is, included in all that, but that's where their passions can be, and if you share that passion and you're giving even of your time to a cause they're passionate about, that's super.
Time, listen and time. Yeah. That's all.
Question. So, outfits, cars, jewelry,
Yes, to all.
how much of that do you?
I mean, I'm not very materialistic, as you can tell.
But truly, it's like brand names and all of that. I mean, do you have to do that? I mean, I'm thinking about, the people that are coming into the business very, new to the business, so they won't be able to afford like the brand or the car or whatever. What would you say?
I couldn't afford a suit when I first started. Again, my boss at the time was grateful enough to lend me $300 and I went and bought 2 suits. And I wore those 2 suits for many years until I made some money. So, now I'm fortunate enough that when I've had some great sales, I always reward myself. I go buy a nice watch or I buy nice shoes or whatever. I like to look, I feel good when I'm wearing this. So for me, especially in San Diego where no one wears a suit in general, this is my point of difference. This makes me stand out. I wear a flower every day because I get people to talk to me. And people that think this is a real flower or that I'm going to a wedding on a daily basis. But they talk to me and then they hear my accent. Right? And it's another conversation. So for me, I dress a certain way to grab attention, to get to know somebody. There are people who dress a certain way just to get attention, to show off, or to be better than someone. I like nice cars, to be honest. Some people don't need a nice car, they just don't care for it. I drive a BMW. Actually, there was a post that Patrick did about me yesterday in San Diego. Told me you're a real estate agent without telling me you're a real estate agent. And he took a photo of my car. And the number plate sold, and it was BMW. And broke agent, I don't know if you guys know who broke agent is, reposted it and got like over 1 million views yesterday. So now I'm that idiot with the BMW and the sold number plate. Right? But people know me now, so image is everything. And I say this at every presentation actually. Mr. and Mrs. Zell, how do you feel I look today? They said, you look good, right? I said, well, cool. Do you feel that I'm professional in this attire? Yeah. How would you have felt if I came to your property today in shorts, flip-flops, and tank top? Would you have taken me as seriously?
No.
Right. That's the same respect I want to give your house when we sell. So we need to present this property in a way where people will perceive this is the most professional, amazing home from the first time they get, not in the front door, from the curb, right? So I dress a certain way to demonstrate how people perceive their home may be sold. Right? That's what I do it for. But I mean, if I ever had gone to work like this growing up without a tie on, this much facial hair, and my shoes not shine, I was sent home on a daily basis. Go home and don't bother come back. So the industry is very relaxed now as far as the tie goes, but there are people that feel they have to keep up with the Joneses, and there are certain locations, that we can all appreciate where they are, that you have to have a certain look to be fit in. But look at the wealthy people. They dress like whoever said. They're not wearing nice clothes. They're wearing ripped Ferrari t-shirts that have been from the 1980s and Adidas pants that are like not even the same color.
There's always a tell though, the watch.
There's always the Rolex.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always the Rolex. There's always the AP or the Rolex.
Yeah.
And there's like an old crumpled Ferrari hat or a Lamborghini hat. It's like a sport, Other than that, but they're just people like us. They're no different.
Yeah, I think it's whatever makes you feel comfortable. I think you definitely don't have to dress a certain way. If you like to dress that way, it's good. But at the end of the day, it's really just professionalism.
Let's be
Make
real,
sure your
they
car's
know we're not,
clean.
sorry, they know we're not on the same economic level as them. They can do the math, they know what we make, they know who we are. You don't have to BS them and pretend you're something you're not. Show up presentable, be that person they can respect, show them that you respect yourself, but don't overextend yourself economically to try to prove something.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into a listing quote with 3 Rolexes on display. Right? But it's how you feel. I feel great when I wear a suit, especially a tailored suit. Right? If you're going to wear a suit, get one that fits you. There's nothing less appealing than someone who's got this oversized outfit, whether it be a female or a male. They just don't look comfortable, which makes them not look confident.
So I think we are out of time. I'll do one last question. Gina really wants to ask,
I do. Aloha, and thank you for your thoughts about all of this. I was very curious because you said you door knock. I did it for the first time. I've been a realtor for over 25 years, so I did it for the first time.
How'd it go?
It went really well.
How about that?
But I would like to know what your script is when you
Oh,
go
I
to
don't
the
door knock
door.
asking for business.
What do you just say?
Last week I was door knocking because actually supposed to do it tomorrow, but I'm here. We're doing a spooky house contest in our farm. So there's a little tactic, and again, I don't mind sharing everything with you guys. On the back of it, we had an email address. Submit your address into this email address, and we'll come out and judge. I'm going to take 2 of my kids out there, and they're going to judge the spookiest house.
Oh, fun.
Now, I did that one wearing jeans and a t-shirt, right? Because I wanted to be part of the community in that instance. So
No.
the script's always changing. Valentine's Day, I give a little pouch with a couple of Hershey's Kisses in it, and I wish them a happy Valentine's Day. In summer, we gave out free scoops of ice cream. My goal with my farm when I'm door knocking is not to close immediately, it's to build a relationship. I'm not going anywhere.
So you're bringing gifts.
I'm offering something that's always going on here. Like we're designing something right now to do a dog calendar. For the name, the dogs of Newport East Bluffs. Right? Right? Bring your dog to the park. We're gonna have a videographer there. We're gonna have someone doing dog shampoos as well. And get to know your neighbours. Get your puppies to spend this time their mate. And we'll put a dog calendar together. Who would like to be Mr. July? Okay? That sort of thing.
Thank you so much.
So just something different, right?
I'm so sorry, we have to end it because the next panel, we're already 5 minutes over. Well, thank you.
Alright, now everyone on 1, 2, 3. Woo! Thanks, guys.
Nice visit, John. Enjoy your day.